They're talking about the main key poses. They help to define the main action of movement. In other words, they are the storytelling drawing. So when we look at this assignment, we can identify that we have 5 keys. We have the one that happens at frame 1, 5, 9, 13, and 17. And we're going to get into specifically what each of these key poses are referred to as. That is what types of poses. So you have key poses. So we explained what keys are a while ago. They help to define the main action, and without keys, you cannot be able to define the action of the character. Then you have breakdown. Breakdown poses. These are poses that go in between the key poses. So you're breaking down the action further. And then before that, you have in between. These are additional joins that help to smooth out the joint animation. So if you're using the pose-to-pose method, you start off by laying down the key poses, then you go into the breakdown, then you go into the in-between of how the structure works. So when we look at this diagram here, usually this would be illustrated storyboard. So notice that this is storyboard here, and then you know that your animatic is created from your storyboard. You have your key poses here, then your key poses go down into what you call, here's another term before breakdown. They're known as extreme. Then once you lay down your extremes, you go into your breakdown or your passing position. And when you go into your breakdown, you go into what you call your in-betweens. We notice here that says straight ahead runs on different parts. So for example, if the character, when you lay down the main poses of the body, let's say the character has clothes, you start to do the secondary action on the clothes last. If the character has hair, you do the secondary action. That's why they said straight ahead runs on different parts. So whether it's clothing, hair, anything that is more random on the character, you do the straight ahead last. Here's an example. We're starting off with 3 main key poses. And without, let me get your feedback on this. Can you identify what the character is doing? Indicate to me in the chat. Or through, I prefer through voice, through the voice. Can you identify what the character is doing here? Hello? Anybody can answer? What is the character doing? Remember, you have to interact with the lesson. Adrian? All right, Jeremy. So he's picking up action. So he's picking up a chalk. Exactly. And how is it that you can tell that he's picking up a chalk? Because it is straightforward. You see the first key pose here. Notice how they pose the character. They pose the character. This is what you call a contact pose. We're going to look at, we're going to identify the major key poses of a walk. But this is the contact pose of the walk. Notice that you see the stride, you see the gait distance between, you see that the feet, how the feet are posed, how the hands are, he's looking forward. So you can tell that he's moving forward in that direction. Notice that there is no information here to tell us what is happening. But based on how this key pose is posed, we can tell that he's walking. This is the second key pose. Notice that it shows him bending down. His hand is for the chalk and it's bent. So that's the second. Remember, keys are storytelling drawings. Now, so notice that there's the blank information here. And then we see him here writing on the board. So several things are happening. He's walking towards the board. He picks up a chalk. Then he gets up and goes towards the board and start to write. Just by these 3 main key poses, you can, like, if let's say you had a comic or you're reading manga, It's the same thing. They just outline the key poses in the comic, and they put the text in there, in the little text bubbles, and you can be able to follow along with the story. There isn't any animation in it, but you can tell what is happening from the key poses. So let's look further and see what happens. So you see what's happening here now? We have what is called the extreme. So notice that we start off with the key poses here. So we have key number 1, key number 2, key number 3, and they're outlined in black. But notice now the animator has now put in some extreme key poses. Notice that he put in another contact pose here. He put another contact pose here. So this is the third contact. This contact is kind of different, but it shows him kind of getting ready to bend down. So it shows him now getting ready to bend down, bending down, and then you go into this key pose. Then it shows him getting up. So you notice that the layout, all of the contact pose, and then they show him going towards, so they start by putting in the extreme poses here. So it goes back to our chart earlier. The keys, the extremes are next to going to. This is breakdown. So notice now that you have the red here, but where it says BDWN, that's your breakdown. And so now when notice that the breakdowns are different because the red ones are the contact poses. Now they start to put the passing positions. Notice the passing positions of the legs here. That's the passing position of the leg. And then they start to put some more breakdown. By the way, this is not cut out anime. They're doing this digitally, by the way, or traditionally. They're drawing this frame by frame. So they drop in the breakdown poses. I will understand that. Then, now this is where it gets a whole lot more complicated if you are doing digital or traditional animation. If you're doing cutout animation, it's a bit more easy because all we're going to do is that we're going to set up the main key poses, and Toon Boom is going to fill in the in-between. Just like what we did with the wave of the character when Bob was waving, we set up, you notice that I start off with 2 main key poses. Main key poses, the software automatically filled in the in-betweens. Then we just copy and paste the key poses along at intervals of 10, and then the software between the 2 key poses. So with the cutout animation, filling in the in-betweens would be much easier. But if we were to do this traditionally or digitally, it would take a whole lot of work getting these in-betweens in. All right, quick question. Does everybody understand the difference between streams, breakdowns, and in-between? True voice. You want to talk to me? All right, good. Mason, so I get a response from me. What about you, Neeraj, and Javon, and Adrian? Do you all understand? All right, good. So, by the way, this lesson is now available on. So, I have this PowerPoint is based on how to do 2 assignments. So you have how to do jumps, main key poses to a jump, but we're not going to look at jumps today. That is for another class. Today, we're looking at how to do walk. Just to kind of briefly, notice that these are the main key poses of a jump. Standing, antic, take off. You have the hang time, landing in squash down, and then in come back up. There are 2 variations of. So this one is the more. Notice that this key pose here is more exaggerated where this one is not so exaggerated. So when you exaggerate, you get a more cartoony effect. And a certain type when you approve it, but this you have vehicles. Progressive walk. This is when the animator animates a character walking from one position to the other. So in the case of the assignment, we are going to do a progressive A to B walk. So character right here. The objective of this assignment, so right now Cyborg is at position A, right here. So he's to the left of our screen, right here. The objective is to get him from here to over here. So over here would be point B. So a progressive A to B walk would have the character walk across the screen, like over here. You see, so that's what we're going to do for this assignment. A series of frames or illustrations drawn in sequence that loop to create an animation of a character walking. The walk cycle is looped over and over, thus having avoid the animator to do each step again. So, all right, so the walk cycle, the perfect example to understand what a walk cycle is, imagine walking on a treadmill. So you're on a treadmill and you're walking. You're not going anywhere. It's just that your feet are moving and you have all of the main poses. You're engaging in all of the main poses of the walk. But you are not physically moving from point A to point B. You're just walking in one position on a treadmill. That's what a walk cycle is. The animator is actually animating the character walking in one position, and to create the illusion that the character is forward, they would the background behind the character and the background. And the background he's not walking forward. The character is walking in one position. Whereas the progressive A to B walk is when you know as the animator actually are moving from point A to point B. So that is the difference. Do you understand? Indicate to me in the chat. All right. Everyone understand? Neeraj, Mason. All right. Good. Mason, you understand too? And Neeraj. All right. I'm going to assume that you understand. So for this assignment, we're going to do a progressive A to B walk. Now, before we do this A to B walk, we need to identify the main key poses of a walk. So we're going to look at that. Just like how a while ago, I briefly showed you that there were main key poses to a jump. There are also main key poses to a walk. You just don't get up and animate a character walking from your memory, or you know what they would do. All right, first thing, before I even touch on the main key poses of a walk, I want to introduce. I want to analysis is. This is the process of studying motion by using reference materials to assist the animation of the characters. So if you look at the animation that we're doing now, reference material, we're using this timing chart, we're using this diagram here, and we're studying it, and we're going to use this as reference to create our walk. We're just not going to just get up so and just animate a walk out of the blue. We have to have, or in order for us to animate, good animators utilize reference material. And reference material can be in several forms. It can be through images, books, diagrams, and you can also have video references. So you can go on YouTube and you can observe an action. Let us say you're animating a dance move. You would observe the person dancing, and you as the animator would have to animate the main key poses of the dance. Once you identify the main key poses, you drop them down and you fill in the analysis entails. It entails utilizing reference materials. So plan out the movement. So reference materials may be video cameras, pictures, books, diagrams. Plan out the movement of the character through the frame. Plan out the big moves first, the main keys to define the movement of the character through the set to lay down a solid foundation of timing keys. They can use quick time play. So like this is when you're utilizing reference material. Now, why is action analysis important? You need to know how the key poses, how they look. Because you might say, all right, I have an idea as to how a human being should walk. But you know that persons walk differently. Everybody have a different kind of walk. So let's say you want to animate Neeraj walking in a character form. You want to animate Neeraj walking in a character form. What you would do is take a video Neeraj walking, because Neeraj would have a different style of walk. Males walk differently in comparison to females. Feminine kind of walk where the kind of there's more movement in the pelvis. Whereas men, it's a more masculine.
Sir, I can't hear you. Keep on glitching out. Sir, you keep on glitching out. Sir.
Hello? Hello? Yes, sir. Hello? What the problem is? Maybe it's the internet. Adrian, are you experiencing the same problem where I'm glitching out? Hello, Adrian, are you experiencing the same difficulty? Okay, I don't know what the issue is. What is the problem, Javon? Why are you typing? Okay, okay. All right. So, what I was explaining a while ago was that um, I was explaining that you would utilize action analysis. Let's say you wanted to animate Javon doing a walk. Javon walks differently. You would need to take a video reference of how Javon walks. You put it onto your computer and you study how you see like how a while ago we did have when I was doing the review of the bouncing ball, I was utilizing QuickTime to go frame by frame through the animation. That is how I mark the assignments, I go frame by frame through the animation and look to see where the flaws are. But when you're animating, you go frame by frame through the video reference to identify the key poses, and then you kind of plan the animation. So I was also saying that action analysis helps you to get the timing of your animation. So when we look at this timing chart, contact happens at frame 1, pose happens at frame 5, passing happens at 9, up 13, contact at 17. So this is the timing. I think it goes up by every 4 frames. So that is the timing of animation. And this was taken from a book called Animation Survival Kit. So this on Moodle as well. So if you want to download it and have a read, it is there. And scroll down, key to the whole time animation where they have the background here, then they have different, let's say you have more than one character. You have character doing an animation and you have different paper over each other, and then you flip through the different. So this is the exposure sheet. And then you have the camera that would film. This is from like when they used to do films like Pinocchio and Dumbo. This some more cartoony walk. Notice how they have the main key poses for this walk. From the front view. Key poses of basketball player. Does the feet bend or the posture of the feet, how they flex. Notice that it is also in the position. How the arms should move. Notice that arms they move an arc similar to how a pendulum would move on a swing. I don't know why I'm glitching out. To do a run, so it's a very all right. So action analysis. So what that is. Now we're going to identify what the main key poses of a walk. What are the all right. Right. So you have the stride or the contact pose. You have the squash. All right, you see, the reason why I put R is because they're used, there are certain terms interchangeably. The alternate term that they would use for the key pose. Persons refer to it as stride, while other persons refer to it as contact. So terminology over here, we have the contact pose, down, passing, and up. And then some animators, they use stride, squash, crossover, and step. So here we have, this is the contact pose. Look, this first key pose is the contact pose. Notice how both feet are. The second pose here is referred to as the down pose. Notice that the position of the head here is much lower. However, this is a more, this is art. This, you have to understand that this is a more cartoony walk. If we were to do 3D animation or use a character that looks more realistic, you wouldn't see somebody walking like this. A person would not walk like this in real life because they wouldn't get down that low and the foot wouldn't bend like this. So it would be little bit more. There are certain, when you go on the internet and you type in key poses for a walk, you will realize that you'll see some more realistic walk, the key poses for like a realistic walk. This is more for a cartoony style that was taken from the Richard Williams book. So the down position is located here. That's why they call it the down position, where most of the weight is distributed on this leg, and this back leg is bent as well. The body is leaning forward, and notice that the arms are the furthest away from. If you look at the other key, their furthest position. So those are the main characters. Reference line here, we can know what the certain positions are higher, because when you're walking, you're really going up and down in terms of your motion of your body. You're going up and down, but it's very subtle with humans when we walk. With more cartoony characters, they tend to exaggerate the up and down movement more, so it's more evident with cartoony characters. It is visible, but not so much visible as in comparison with the cutout characters. So the passing position, notice that the leg is straight, but the foot part is planted horizontally on the ground. And the reason why it's called the passing position, look at how it passes the leg here like a. This is also notice that they said um, passing position is because the legs, it's the main characteristic of this pose is when the leg, the back leg, notice that they even differentiate the legs. This is the leg on the other side of the character that is like shaded like a shadow, and this is the other leg on the other side. So this leg is crossing over, and then this leg, the hands are, so the hands are at the side, the second leg is crossing, and then this leg is planted down vertically. The third is called the up, and this position is the highest position in the walk. Notice that this leg here that was once planted like this is now extended at its highest point, and then you have this leg which is bent. For the up position, the step position. And the reason why the step is because it looks like the character is stepping forward. So this is the step position, the walk. And then you have the contact position. But you're saying we already talked about the contact position at the beginning. The difference between this contact position and this contact position is that the legs switch around. So notice that here the front leg, the white part of it was in front, but now when the legs move, when this back leg move over, this leg is now in front. Notice that hand which was on the other side was, and now this hand that is behind him is now in front. But what you should also notice as well is that when we look at the reference line at the top here, the character is at the same height. So the down is the lowest, the passing is a little bit above the line here, the up is at the highest position, and the contact of the walk. Is the this is an adoption from this is taken from the Richard Williams survival kit where they say contact. Remember, I was saying that there's other terminals. Some refer to it as stride, squash, crossover, step. So this is the stride position, which is also known as the down, crossover, passing position, step, which is also known as the up position and is the highest. By the way, this is the lower body part of the character. These give like a little description of what each of these mean. This is the main key because it gives you the most information. The distance walked per step. Notice the weight is evenly balanced over both feet. This should be your pose for any walk you do. So any type of walk you're doing, whether it's a cartoony looking walk or a more realistic walk, you always need to ensure or a stride pose. And the weight is evenly distributed on the weight has shifted. So when he's leaning forward, most of the weight is shifted on the forward leg. And the leg bends to take the weight. The hips are at their lowest position in the walk. There should be almost no weight on the back. So the weight is lifted off of the back leg. Notice that your back foot pivots on the toe. So notice that it's right here. One of the main problems you're going to have when you start doing the walk is that you're going to have sliding feet. So it's very important that we have to use the onion skin to ensure that our feet they pivot in the same position. And when we have our feet, like when the feet is pivoting here, so it should land flat right here, and then it should pivot on its toe. So we're going to use the onion skin when we're doing the walk. That it says animating biped walks. Now, they have this term biped. The term biped is used to refer to characters that have two legs. There's another term called quadruped. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. But the quadrupeds, they're used for those are making the term is making reference to characters that have four legs. So animals that have four legs, like a dog that walks on four legs. But you know, like within the cartoon, within animation, you have dogs that can walk on two legs. You have those characters. So like you have a wolf. A wolf can walk on two legs. That's his personality. He can walk on two legs like a human. That character would be a biped. But if you're creating a different kind of wolf that is more realistic, that wolf would be walking on four legs. That would be a quadruped. So we're focusing on walks for biped characters that have two legs. We're looking at the timing for a walk. So here's making go to page 109 to 110 for different timings of the walk. So this is taken from the Richard Williams survival kit. So when you do it every 4 frames, it's a very fast run. 6 frames, a run or a very fast walk. 8 frames is a slow run or cartoony walk. 12 frames is a brisk, busy walk. They have different times. The time is from the Richard Williams survival kit so that you can let me see. So here's our done. Right. So we're here. Uh, so here he's saying generally people walk on 12s, which is what they refer to as march time. But lazy animators don't like to do it on 12s. It's hard to divide it up time. You have these are going to be on third. So you have from frame 1 to 4. So you have and 3 would be referred to be another in between. No, sorry. These two, frame 2 and 3, would be breakdown poses. So it would be like right here. 5 and 6, frame 5 would be at this position here. 6 would be here, and 7 is where the passing position would be. 8 and 9, so this is what they mean by thirds. So you have 2 frames in between. One, two, three, four. So it has the key pose is like this is